Atlanta has a special place in the minds of Indians. This is where Martin Luther King Jr., one of the great sons of this country, who used the Gandhian principle of nonviolence as the core of his civil rights movement, is laid to rest. The Gandhi statue and the museum at the Martin Luther King Jr. National Historic Site here in Atlanta bear testimony to this special relationship and the flow of ideas between India and the United States, India and Atlanta, which have enriched our relationship. Atlanta is an important trade partner for India. We have a large number of Indian companies based in Atlanta and in Georgia. This includes Tata Consultancy Services and Tata Sons, Infosys Technologies, Mahindra USA, Birla Technologies, Wipro, and HCL America. These are just a few examples. The trade figures by the US Department of Commerce on exports from Georgia to India show impressive growth, even though the base is still relatively modest. Commodity trade from Georgia to India grew, as the governor mentioned, by 36.5% in 2009 compared to 2008. This is particularly significant given that overall US exports to India declined in 2009 because of the economic downturn here. So the trade between Atlanta and India showed resilience even in the face of the global economic crisis. The governor mentioned that India and Atlanta have some similarities because they are both nations of the future and a state of the future. Yes, I would agree that India is definitely a nation of the future and one which will play an increasingly important role in the global economy and in world affairs. And I would say that there are certain factors which propel this greater role for India. First of all is the scale. You're looking at a nation of 1.1 billion people, which will become, in the future, the most populous nation in the world. What 1.1 billion people do or do not do, the choices that they make, the goods that they consume, will have an impact not just within that country or within that region, but in the wider world. The second factor is the accelerating growth in the Indian economy. India, post-independence, grew at a relatively stately pace of 3%. It used to be ironically called the Hindu rate of growth. Today, in recent years, the growth rate in India has accelerated to 9% on an average between 2002 and 2007. We had 9% growth for almost 4 to 5 years. It dipped because of the global economic crisis, but we have weathered the global economic crisis relatively well. We are one of the few countries which did not go into a recession and had a growth rate of 6.7% in 2008 at the peak of the crisis. We were impacted, even though our banking system was sound, our financial sector was sound, and we did not have any exposure to subprime mortgages. But we discovered how interconnected the world is when we saw that institutional investors from overseas withdrew money from the Indian stock market because of their own liquidity pressures at home. And this led to a huge downswing in stock values and reflected in business sentiment and then in the real economy. We also found that there was a credit squeeze internationally, which affected the ability of our companies to borrow overseas and to grow, because many were having recourse to external commercial borrowings. We also saw that our export-oriented industries, which were labor-intensive, were badly hit because of constraint in demand in all three major global economies simultaneously, in the US, in Europe, and in Japan. Nevertheless, we still had a growth rate of 6.7%, though slower than the growth we had been witnessing before that, which was, as I said, an average of 9%. In 2009, the projections are that growth would be in the region of 7.2%. These were the initial projections of the government, but now with data coming in, there is some indication that these figures could be raised to 7.5%. For 2010, the financial year, which just began on 1st April, our financial year is from April to March, projections are that growth could be 8.5%. So we are looking, even if you take a conservative figure, the conservative estimates are 8.25, the more optimistic estimates are something like 8.75. So you're really looking at a band, I would say roughly, of growth between 8 and 8.75%. We hope to come back to a growth rate of 8 to 10% and sustain this for the next 3 decades or more, because that is what we will need to overcome the challenges that we face. We're hopeful that we will be able to do this or to achieve this objective because the fundamentals of our economy are strong. We have been growing, unlike many of the other East Asian tigers, on the basis of domestic demand and domestic investment. A lot of the Asian countries really followed a model of export-driven or export-led growth. In India, it's been, in a sense, more balanced, with the domestic market and domestic industry providing the basis for expansion in the economy, even as our interaction with the world economy has been growing steadily. We have good rates of savings. They are somewhere in the region of 35%, and good investment rates, which are in the region of 36%. They had risen higher, but slipped a little during the period of the global economic crisis. If we're able to raise our savings rate to about 40%, I think the kind of ratio between input and output should assure us a growth rate of about 10%, which is what we are looking at. So if you're looking at the high growth markets of the future, where is economic growth likely to occur in future, then clearly India is going to be one of the countries, one of the mega markets of the future, where you're going to see exponential growth. And as the Indian economy grows, the Indian market will expand. That's another reason to look at India as a country of the future, because the market today is relatively shallow, is relatively small, because people didn't have that kind of purchasing power. But as incomes expand, as the numbers of people in the middle class grow, the demand for goods and services in India will be seeing exponential growth.